Frågan om muslimska böneutrop har engagerat. Det har väckt reaktioner, det har väckt debatt, både i kristenheten och bland politiker. Hur ska vi hantera det här? En del ser det som en naturlig del av ett nytt samhälle som växer fram, och andra funderar kring hur påverkar det här religionsfriheten och också möjligheten för kristna att evangelisera. Det här kommer vi att samtala om i Vardagstro. Welcome to this studio, Joakim Hagerius, opinion editor at tidningen Dagens.
Thank you.
And Tomas Samuel, a previous imam from Egypt and also today a Christian apologist. We'll take this conversation now in English because of your English language.
Yes.
I don't know Arabic, so
yeah.
we can't take
English.
that.
Yeah, we'll give it a try.
We'll give it a try in English. Joakim, I read your article about this with the prayer calls, as it mentioned. The background is that the Muslims in Växjö has applied to have regular prayer calls. And this has been up to a debate where KD, the Christian Democracy Party, have said that we don't want to see regularly prayer calls in an institutional way. And you say that this is a problem. It's a slippery slope. What do you mean?
Yeah, it could be a slippery slope. And the main argument for Dagen about this has to do with freedom of religion. And if you, as a politics, forbid Muslim call for prayer based on the Muslim creed, on the content, then there is risk of a slippery slope regarding the freedom of religion.
But is that actually what has been the subject? The subject or the creed? Isn't it the how this affects the neighborhood and the volume, etc.?
Yes, this is the problem of the debate, that the creed, the content, the subject, and other regulations regarding how disturbing it is and so on has been mixed. So when politicians like Ebba Busch Thor and Lars Adaktusson, when they argue about this, they mix those two perspectives. And then when it gets tricky, and if you kind of not mix it, you argument separately about the creed and about loudspeaker and so on, then it's an easier debate.
Maybe not so easy, but easier. Thomas, you were the one that came up with the more theological, from a Muslim perspective, version of this with the prayer calls and the creed. As a Muslim, how important is this to have public prayer calls with the Muslim creed?
Actually, from a Muslim understanding, prayer call is important on the level of ritual and feeling the presence of Islam and a kind of proving that presence in the prayer call. And I think that the problem that appeared because of, if I'm allowed to comment on what has been just said, the slippery slope is a probability that always exists from both sides, because actually the slippery slope fallacy or illogical, being illogical argument by having a slippery slope always exists. It exists in our talk now. It exists in everything as a probability. But the point is, do we have it really or not? That will be the question. And accordingly, I want to say that there is a slippery slope that we prevent everything according to that. Yeah, but also by allowing it, we have a slippery slope probability to allow everything else. So we can assume that...
We'll be back to that. But,
Yeah.
but how important is it? Can you give me the comment? Because being here as a Swede, of course, we have been there in a lot of different countries where we hear the Muslim prayer calls. It's a little bit of an exotic feeling going to Morocco or wherever. You hear this. But having it in Sweden, you feel that what is actually going on? How important is it? Because we also want to be here, welcoming the new immigrants coming with the Muslim faith. Of course, we want to be a tolerant and including society. But how important is it for a Muslim believer to have this as a part of their both daily life and the society?
As I said, for them, for a Muslim, it's a ritual that for his prayer to happen. And also it is, as we should always understand, Islam is not a religion that is separated from the culture and from the politics and from everything else. No, Islam carry a culture in itself. So people get used to that, and it makes them feel the presence of Islam where they live. It's important for them always to feel that Islam is present where they are. And it makes it important. But on the other level, when we talk theologically, we should understand that there were no loudspeakers on the time of the Prophet Muhammad of Islam. And it's a matter of having a loudspeaker is a new thing in Islam. Before, it was not like that. So we cannot say ever that it is a fundamental in faith that, for example, prayer will not be okay without it. No, it should be said, or it could be said inside the mosque without a loudspeaker. And this is what we need to focus on.
That can be enough.
Yes, inside the mosque is what we want to say. Loudspeakers is a problem.
But Joakim, you have to understand that a lot of Christians are a little bit confused when this Christian magazine, in a way, sounds to promoting or accepting the Muslim prayer calls. How do you react to that?
Yeah, I totally understand that. But I'm talking in this subject as an evangelist. That's my take on it. I frame it like this. Christian faith, I think, as a core conviction, is good for everyone. It's good for kids. It's great for youth. It's even as great for adults. It's great for business. It's great for schools. It is great for the whole society. And that's why I want the right, or guard the right, to express the Christian faith in the public square, in everywhere. The more, the better. And if I want that kind of freedom as an evangelist, as a Christian evangelist, then the flip side of that coin is that I have to give the same freedom for other perspectives, ideologies, or even religion. That's my take on it.
But the difficulties with this, according to what I have understood from the debate, it is that what will the end be of that arguing? Because if we have on Friday Muslim prayer calls, on Sunday or Saturday Salvation Army on the square, but on Monday we have the Buddhists that want to have silence, and they also want to maybe have it on the Friday, because that is their way of expressing their faith. What will the end be with that type of openness to everyone to express their faith in public, loudspeakers, etc.?
Yes, and that's why there already exist regulations. So you have this freedom of religion inside some rules and regulation when you cannot offend people, it cannot be too disturbing, it cannot be too loud. All these are already existing rules that has to interpret in every new situation. For example, Växjö, this call to prayer, as I understand it, it is about once a week, Friday noon, and at a level of maximum 45 decibel. And 45 decibel is like our conversation right now, or like an ordinary dishwasher, 3 minutes a week at noon. So that's what we're talking about.
That is their application.
Yes, well, yes. So could that be okay?
Yeah, that's very interesting, Thomas.
Actually, what you said is really interesting because of many things. The first thing you have said that as evangelist, you care to have a freedom to express your faith, and accordingly, you give the space to others. We totally agree on that. Who talked about attacking the freedom of anyone? But then you assume that it's a right of freedom. I mean, this is a pre-assumption that they are already free to do it, and we are just in the point of allowing this freedom to happen or not. But what we say is, it is here not about freedom, because it is already having a kind of forcing and freedom is contradicting. It never comes together. So when I hear it on regular basis from the loudspeakers, where is the freedom of that while I'm forced to hear it? It's no freedom here. And if you want to compare that to
But that is the same if you have also the Christians speaking there. Big loudspeakers, big meetings, singing, proclaiming that Jesus is Lord. I cannot actually close my ears to that even.
Yeah, but here you have two very important conditions. The first important thing, it should not be on a regular basis. The second important thing, I should have the permission of people standing. And if this will bother people, who said that we are with it? Who said that this is good? I mean, as an evangelist, I can ask you, would you like to give your message by forcing to someone who doesn't want to listen to it?
Of course I do not. But
this is what we say.
But go back to my example then. In Växjö, in the application,
Yes.
it is like 45 decibel. It's on a conversational level. It's like an ordinary dishwasher, once a week, 3 minutes. That's not like forcing, very loud, loudspeaker in my living room.
Yes.
That's not kind of that picture.
Again, Joakim, here you take us to the second point that I was about to speak about. And here we have 2 points. The first point, you said we should not judge it about the creed. But now you are judging it on the amount of voice. And actually, for me, to whisper in my ears, which is less than 45 decibels so much, by something against my faith, is more important to me than having it have something neutral in a loudspeaker. So the creed here should come more important, or the understanding of the words, the meaning that it carried, is more important than the level of sound, because I will be bothered by the meaning, well, by the voice. But the last point is very important as well, that you say that it's only for 3 minutes and it's 45. I will assume that as well, but this is for only the mosque. Who said that others will not come with other requests, and we will have many, and you will have Sweden as a torg.
Yeah.
It's a marketplace where everyone is proclaiming his faith, especially when you forget about the meaning that they say. So why not I go out in the speakers and I say, any other one saying anything in the loudspeaker is mistaken. Listen only to me. Then I have the right to say so, as long as we will not take care of the words.
Yes, and I understand this is the slippery slope that you are seeing from this. I understand that. But then I think maybe you do not trust the democratic system. That we respect freedom of religion within certain roles that already exists. And those certain roles are not according to creed, different creeds. If you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist, but the regulations is regarding to volume, if it disturbs too much, if you offend people. So those regulations are already there.
But Joakim, is it a big problem that a Christian democracy party with the Christian heritage of Sweden, with that political party's history, is that so strange that they come up with this idea that we want to, as a political party, to make some restrictions regarding Muslim prayer calls? Is that strange?
No, it isn't strange. They are free to do that, but I think...
from a Christian perspective, do you think is that strange?
Well, I don't think it's strange, but I do not think it's the right way to go.
Because you said like this, the wish is understandable, and she have also, regarding to Ebba Busch Thor, she has all her right in the thing, but the restrictions is the wrong way to go. You said that she had right in the thing, but the restrictions road is the wrong road to go.
Yes.
What do you mean?
I think there need to be a debate in the local society, with the local politicians, in the municipality, and they have to debate the concrete application and really take a decision that is contextualized on that very specific place, out of the already existing rules.
But isn't it so strange that you have this Christian party that wants to see a stronger, of course, Christian value ground in the secular society that we have, and that they also want to push the Christian heritage of the country? I mean, if people want to vote for that, is that so wrong?
No, but this is a very interesting conversation. Do we think that the state should favor a certain religion or a certain ideology? Or should the state be neutral?
Yeah, Thomas, what do you think? You are from Egypt.
Definitely the state should be neutral when it comes to the internal issues of every faith and religion. But the point and the big question will happen when the religions parties, or the religions and faiths come out with something that is related to the public area. Who should represent the others? So here we agree that politicians on some level should be involved on a way when it is related to the society and public issues.
Yes.
And the second thing, again, if it is internal, they should not be involved. And this is what we beg the mosque to do. Keep it internal and nobody will interfere in it.
No, but still, the question is here, do I want politicians to say to me, Joakim, it's okay, you can be a Christian, you can worship, but do it internal? No, I do not want that restriction on my faith. I want to act external.
Yeah.
I want to have the faith in the square, in the public spaces.
We talked
That's
about
important.
this, Joakim. You took me back till the time when we had the konventikelplakat, where it was restrictions for all the non-Lutheran state church,
Yes.
what we could do and not do.
Yes.
And you said that we have to be aware that we don't come back to the same situation with a state church, not the state church, but a government that restricts our faith.
Yes.
That was a big concern. What did you really mean?
I mean, there were some new spiritual movement coming into Sweden from Europe, the Pietists. And that was a very scary thing, because that wasn't really a thing within the existing right faith, the Lutheran Swedish state church and faith. So then they started to persecute people. Or they started to using laws and regulation to forbid people to follow this spiritual movement, Pietist, which is the base of the whole Free Church movement in Sweden. And it went that bad that the Swedish people, they moved abroad to United States just to express their
religious
own
freedom.
Religious freedom, yes. Because we had no such thing here in Sweden, because we favored only one faith and church. And the religious freedom in Sweden is part of our Swedish law, 1951. It's not long ago. And it could be changed once again if we don't guard it.
Is this actually the first time that we really face the challenge of the religious freedom law in our society?
Well, I think you can say that this is a test case.
Yes.
in a bigger scale.
In a bigger scale.
Yeah, but I need to comment on what
Yeah, do
Joakim
that.
is saying. It's very important. Actually, I see a very huge assumption in the idea of going external mean always that we should force our faith on others. We can go external without forcing. For example, do you think that I am against a Muslim standing with a Quran in the street asking people for permission to talk and he has a discussion with them? Definitely no. By the way, it happened with me in the Pendle talk. I was there and a guy stopped me and he said, can I talk to you about Islam? I said, oh, you picked the right person. Let's talk. And we talked. And then he left me. I don't know why. Maybe my words was not good. But he left me. And we had a nice discussion for 2-3 minutes. And we are not against that. The same with the evangelist. But the point is, having it on a regular basis with loudspeakers, forcing people in their homes to hear it. We don't want that. The second thing, the human rights, I think also this is another assumption, or this is not correct. We had the human rights agreement, as you say, it's became to apply on 1951. This is correct? This is what you mean?
The freedom of religion.
Religion started to be applied 51.
No, it went part of the Swedish law.
To be a part of the law.
Yes.
Okay, but who said that it didn't exist except when it was in the law? Actually, it is there, and it is built on the human dignity and freedom. As Os Guinness says, the doctor in Oxford, he says, it was from the beginning when God created man on his image. So applying it recently in the law, or including it recently in the law, doesn't mean that it was not there and then we need to modify to fit the newcomers only. Because I see here a favor for the newcomers. Why should we change the whole society for a minority?
That was also my question. I have another one to you soon. but I have this question, Thomas. We talk about this as Muslim prayer calls. But I just talked the other day with Magnus Norell, the scientist, and he said that I have met so many Muslims around the world that don't want to hear the prayer calls. Is it the big mass of Muslims that wants to have the prayer calls? So who is it within the Muslim society?
Now, actually, we should here differentiate between people who they believe in Islam and they are Muslims, and people who just inherited Islam from their parents, and like some Christians, some Buddhists, some Hindus. And I think the people who just inherited it and they are not Muslim practicing, they are not practicing. And even some of the people who practice slightly, they say we don't need it. Actually, I saw days ago an article from a mosque, I don't remember where they say, okay, we want to keep it inside the mosque. We are happy that Swedish people welcomed us in their country. We don't want to proclaim it outside. This is fantastic. But you have all the majority of fundamentalists. Definitely they will support that, because for fundamentalist Muslim, it means victory for him to proclaim Islam in a loudspeaker with a permission from the state. It's wow. So definitely also you have on the other side some moderate Muslims who want to keep it inside, and some liberal Muslims who don't care to have it.
But I also see, Joakim, that in some parts of the world where Christians are not allowed to speak out publicly,
Yes.
the Christian faith is growing rapidly and strong. How important is it to have this legal right to be there on the square for the gospel's sake, in its nature to change persons' life and societies?
Well, I think for the sake of the gospel, I mean, there is a power within the gospel that has to do with Jesus Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit. And I mean, if I have to choose, I rather put my trust in Jesus Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit than in laws and regulation and the state favor one faith, of course.
Because that was also my question. I want to come to this now. We have a present situation. We are not used to it. We have so many newcomers to Sweden, immigrants that have a Muslim background. We have this new people group that wants to proclaim the Muslim faith in a stronger way. We see it in different ways. We have a new society. we have a new situation for the church. If you will look ahead, what would your suggestion be to the Christian church and people involved in politicians? How to react and how to act in this present situation?
Well, I would say don't use laws and regulation to forbid other people to express their faith. That's one thing. Be confident in Jesus Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit. Preach the gospel everywhere. Do not be internal. Do not be private with your faith. Be public with your faith in every sense. So don't be afraid, and don't be afraid of other religions. That's. I think we have to have more confidence in our own faith than using laws and regulations to forbid others.
Tomas, give us your suggestion now to the Christian church. Your proclamation in Dagen has been widely spread. A lot of people have referred to it as an important statement, but that was a statement. What would you suggest for the Christian church and politicians for the future?
I 100% should agree with my brother Joakim. We should trust our faith. We should rely on Jesus, not on any laws. And that's why if they permitted the prayer call, I will not lose faith, because my faith is in Jesus, not in the law. And at the same time, I would say, yes, don't be private. Engage with the world. Engage with the world. Because also it would be so narrow-minded if we thought that Christians are isolated from the society, or even isolated from laws and constitutional laws. They should have their own input. Because your faith, one of the things that decide your behavior and your mindset, we cannot take it out. So keep your faith. Proclaim it out with love and with freedom, and let the other to have the freedom to choose to hear it or not to hear it. So always ask. And that's why Jesus always asked the person who come with a request before he give him what he wants, because he wants to guarantee that he did it with his own free will.
And on this, I totally agree with you, Tomas. Don't impose religion, your faith, on other people. Yes. As you describe it, of course.
That will be our last
God bless you.
Sentence in this program. Thank you very much for a very interesting talk. I believe that this is an important issue that will be alive for some good time in ahead. And we have got some very good input. Och till alla då som har följt det här programmet vill jag uttrycka mig, var du än finns, hur du än har det, vem du än är, Gud välsignar just dig.